Joanne Turner, and I'm talking to Emmanuel Darmois, who's the ETSI Board Vice Chairman. Emmanuel, welcome. So perhaps you could start by telling us a little bit about what ETSI are doing for cloud standards.
We're doing a lot of things. I believe that it's important to mention that we have an activity in ETSI which is related to cloud, which is called NFV, Network Functional Virtualization. It's an important part of what's going on in the industry, but in my answer today I would probably focus more on the cloud standards coordination. We have been asked in 2012 by the European Commission to help them understand how the standards part of their cloud strategy and policy could be implemented. And we have been creating an industry-wide initiative, an open one, to discuss how standards were shaping up in the cloud space. And in particular, we had in mind one question of the Commission, which I thought is an important one, which was, is it a jungle? And we had a first phase of this cloud standards coordination in which we've been addressing this question together with another important one, which was, do we have enough standards? And if not, what are the ones missing? And the results of this first phase were a number of recommendations. The most important one was let's go on as it is, because there is no jungle of standards in cloud. But let's go also to address the issues that are important to the industry. And amongst those issues were, for instance, the questions of interoperability, the questions of how can you port your data when you change your service provider, and the questions of security and privacy.
Okay, so after this first phase, what's beyond that?
Second phase, as you can imagine. We have done that this year. We've been addressing some of the questions that we didn't have time to address with the first phase. Actually, the first phase was pretty much related to cloud standards providers, and the very active players in this first phase were really all the big players of cloud standards provision. We have, in the second phase, addressed the questions of the users, in particular the end users and the SMEs, the administrations, all those smaller players that have to understand how they can deal with cloud and how they can do that in a mastered way and not putting too much resources into that. So we have tried to capture the needs of the users, and we've been to this extent doing a survey that has been showing up some of the users' concern, and we've been using that to deal with other topics like, for instance, what are the issues related to security and how are they handled by standardization, or what is the role of open source in the provision of cloud solutions and cloud standards in particular. And we also have been having a look at what is the current landscape of cloud standardization roughly 2 years after the first phase.
Okay, and obviously the cloud service provision market is actually changing, and you just touched on that in terms of the security. So perhaps we can just sort of look at that and how standards will play a part in data security that's stored in the cloud.
Yeah, what we see after 2 years is things which remain issues and subject of concern, and this has not really been changing. And obviously the two major aspects which are subject of concern are, on the one hand, security, on the other hand, privacy. We also have been seeing a change in the way users are seeing the market and expressing their needs, and how the providers are answering. For instance, we have been seeing the role of the legacy IT systems as a growing concern within the industry, and the service providers have to be able to deal with that, and that will certainly have an impact on standards. But coming back to security and privacy, these are remaining issues because they are complex ones. Security is clearly a major concern and sometimes roadblock for some of the users, because they want to make sure that when they expose their internal company systems on the cloud, they are not going to be stolen or sabotaged by malevolent actors. So this is one issue, and from this standpoint, I think standardization is gradually proposing solutions. So we have a progress. Regarding privacy, this is another important question, and the solution is here not really going to come only from standards, because to a large extent this is something that is being dealt with by regulation, national regulation, or in the case of Europe, regulation that can come from the European Commission. And from this standpoint, what we've been trying to achieve in the work we did in ETSI was to give some recommendations to the Commission on how standards could be coming as a support for potential regulation if something in that space is in the hands of the Commission.
Emmanuel, thanks for talking to us today.